homestead peeps. So I've been hearing a lot about sourdough starter, and I wanted to give two different recipes a try and compare the two and see which one works out best for us. So join us as we go on this journey. The latest edition of Backwood Home Magazine has two separate sourdough starters in there. The first one is a sourdough simplified, and the second one is a Starboard Farm sourdough starter. So we're going to try both of them out and see which one yields the best sourdough. One thing that I thought was really interesting about starting your own sourdough starter at your home is that they talked about in the articles was that sourdough starter becomes unique to your homestead. Why? Because it actually feeds on the yeast or the bacteria that is in the air. That actually causes it to become a living yeast or starter. And so what's floating around in my home may not actually be what's floating around in your home, and so it gives it a unique taste, unique to your home. So I thought that was really interesting. So here we go with the first recipe. Okay, for the simple starter, the recipe actually calls for 2 cups of all-purpose unbleached flour, and I'm using my half-gallon canning jar to grow my starter in. So I'm just going to pour it directly into there. Then it calls for 1 teaspoon of salt. Just a hair more, okay. And 3 tablespoons of sugar. And I've already pre-measured 3 tablespoons of sugar. And 1 envelope of dry yeast. I don't have envelopes, but I do have the jar of Fleshman's dried yeast, and 1 envelope equals 1/4 of an ounce, so that's measured out, so that's 1 envelope. And it says to stir these dry ingredients well. I'm going to kind of mix them together, but then I'm going to actually, well, I think this is how I'll do it. Okay, so that's my dry ingredients. Then I'm going to take 2 cups of warm water. It says 105 degrees. And stir that well. Put it over here where I can. Now, if you'll notice, I've put a rubber band on my jar, and I'm going to use that rubber band to measure where I start so I can see how much growth I get from the starter. I believe I've got everything mixed up. I don't see any dry ingredients left. It looks like it's a little wet at the bottom. Okay, looks good. And The other recipe says that you stir with a wooden spoon, so to keep everything consistent, I decided to use a wooden spoon for this one as well. Let me just rake off the excess. And then it says to cover lightly with a cheesecloth. I don't actually have any cheesecloth on hand, but I do have a linen towel that I'm going to cover with for now. So I'm just going to cover this one. Oh, yes, so my rubber band is in the right spot. It's right at the top of the dough. So we can mark from that point forward. So we're going to set this aside. Okay, so it tells us that in 24 hours we're going to add a half cup of flour and just a little less than half a cup of lukewarm water to that. So tomorrow we'll be adding to that. So let's get started with our second recipe. Okay, so we're starting with the Starboard Farms recipe of sourdough starter. Now, this one is just slightly different. We're going to take 1 cup of unbleached flour and 1 cup of lukewarm water, and this is just tap water, and 1 tablespoon of raw honey. And I actually have a lot of these little jars of honey that a friend sent me, their raw honey from local raw honey, and I got to taste wildflower honey and saw palmetto honey, and I'm not sure what else, but so we're going to get 1 tablespoon of raw honey to put into this starter. Almost there. Almost. Just a little more. And these are the only 3 ingredients that go into this starter actually. And what we're going to do is mix it together like we did the other starter. And I have a rubber band on this one as well to be able to measure how much growth we get out of it. And I go back and add to this one in 24 hours as well. We're going to cover it with the same type of cloth that we've covered the other one with, and we'll see what we get. So I'm going to mix this up. This is a little bit thinner than the other sourdough starter was. And it's about half the amount that the other starter had as well. So okay, so we have both of them made. This is actually the simple starter, and I've put the rubber band to measure where it starts and put the cloth over it, no lid yet. And then this is the Starboard Farms starter, significantly less, and we are going to look in 24 hours. In 24 hours we're going to give this one more flour and mix it in, and this one we're just going to mix and leave it. It'll be 72 hours before we add to the Starboard Farm starter. So it's exciting to see what the results is and which one seems to work best. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like our video, and hit the notification bell. And also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to look out for the next one about the updates and results of what we get from the sourdough starter